right. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this important discussion on behalf of the Nkafu Policy Institute and the Denise and Lenora Fureta Foundation. I would like to warmly welcome you today on the webinar on energy transition as a growth engine, unlocking jobs and investment in Central Africa. My name is Julienne Stephanie Mesumbe. I'm the Deputy Director at the Nkafu Policy Institute, and I'll be moderating today's discussion. Thank you very much for taking the time to join us. Before we begin, just a quick check. If you can hear us clearly, please kindly indicate if you can hear us loud and clear. All right.
Yes,
All
I
right.
can.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you. Thank you very much. So we are pleased to have with us today three key panelists. We have Mr. Melako Tefere, who is a program officer in energy planning and modeling at the Africa Union Development Agency, AUDA NEPAD, with strong experience working on regional energy systems and integration. You're welcome, Mr. Milako. We also have Mr. Andrea Renzulli. Mr. Andrea Renzulli is a regional energy specialist at UNDP, working on sustainable energy policy and investment across Africa, including on financing and program implementation. You're welcome, Mr. Andrea. As third panelist, we have Dr. Adeline Nembod, who is the head of gender, women empowerment, and care economy at the Nkafu Policy Institute and brings a strong expertise on policy analysis, economic inclusion, and development in Central Africa. Thank you all very much for being with us today. With such a strong group of panelists, we are confident that we're going to have a very rich and practical discussion. So let me briefly start by setting the context of our conversation today. Across Central Africa, energy remains a major constraint to economic development. Many countries continue to face significant energy deficits with limited access to reliable and affordable electricity. At the same time, the region is experiencing rapid population growth, increasing urbanization, and growing demand for jobs, especially for young people. This creates a real challenge. How can countries industrialize, attract investment, and create jobs without a strong and reliable energy system? And at the same time, the global shift towards renewable energy presents a unique opportunity. If well managed, the energy transition is not only about addressing, climate concern, it can also unlock new investment opportunities, create jobs across value chain, and support more inclusive and sustainable economic growth. However, this will not happen automatically, as we know. So it requires the right policies, the right investments, and strong coordination between governments, private sector, and development partners. So the key question for us today is not whether energy transition matters, but how it can be made to work in practice for Central Africa. So with that in mind, I would like to turn to our esteemed panelists to really hear their perspective. And I'm going to start with Mr. Melako. My opening question is, in your view, why does energy transition represent such an important economic opportunity for Central Africa today?
Thank you, Dr. Julian. First, good afternoon, everybody. First of all, let me thank the Nkafu Policy Institute and the organizers really for organizing this very important discussion. I'm really honored to join these distinguished panelists and participants on behalf of Audanipad today. Yeah, regarding your question, why the energy transition is a major economic opportunity, I think it's, for me, I can see from 2 points of view. The first of all, energy transition from the developed nations point of view, and energy transition from the developing nations point of view, specifically from African point of view. I think there are some key differences. From developed nations point of view, energy transition is more of climate driven. It is a matter of reducing emissions and most probably modernizing their energy systems. But from African point of view, this is valid. We want to reduce emissions, but that is not the only agenda in terms of energy transition from African point of view. From African point of view, specifically from Central African region point of view, energy transition touches the expansion of energy systems, grid expansion. It also includes the expansion of electricity access and clean cooking to underserved population. And it also touches with job creation and modernizing the energy systems also. Actually, the Central Africa, as we know, we do have a huge potential for hydro, solar, and wind and other resources also. But still, we need to develop these resources. We need a special the region is ample. So we want to develop these resources. That means we do have huge potential. We can use energy transition can really assist us to develop these resources, and we can consider as a major economic opportunity for Central Africa. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Then I'll move to Mr. Renzulli Andrea. So, like I said, just to set the scene and have your opening reflection, why does energy transition represent such an important economic opportunity for Central Africa today?
Thank you, Dr. Julian, and allow me to also join Melaku in thanking on behalf of our director, Njoya Tipo-Mabeyo, UNDP Regional Bureau for West and Central Africa, the NICAFO Policy Institute for organizing this important discussion on energy transition in Central Africa. And it's really a pleasure to be here with you and with the other distinguished speakers from Audanepad, from the NICAFO Policy Institute itself, and hopefully from the University of Bertua. So to start, I would like to actually add to what actually Melaku was saying on the potential of the energy transition for developing economies not being only related to emission reduction, but being most and foremost related to actually the support of the economic and social prosperity of the region. And I would like to give a bit of data point that I think can help in framing this potential. So Melaku was mentioning on the wide, vast renewable potential that Central Africa region has. It is absolutely true that Central Africa region holds one of the most large and at the same time underused clean energy endowment in the world. We are talking about 1 terawatt of solar PV potential, more than 250 gigawatts of onshore wind potential, and 45 gigawatts of hydropower potential. And to remind you, hydropower is also one of the only non-intermittent renewable energy sources that we can exploit. However, only 7 out of the 11 members of the Central Africa Power Pool have reached an electrification level beyond 50%, meaning that the other countries' clean electricity access is still below 50%. Those are tens of millions of people that lack basic access to electricity. And that basic access to electricity means they lack light in their houses to let their child study after sunlight goes off. They lack clean energy for their cooking needs. They lack access to information through internet because they cannot charge their phone at home and so on. But I think it is clear that this is not a resource problem. Resources are there. This is an investment and policy architecture problem. The second point that I would like to highlight is that the world is increasingly shifting towards renewable energies globally. And this is a trend that is just and only accelerating during the recent crisis, and most often driven by the recent energy crisis. The one in the Middle East is accelerating even more the global trend. And beyond the development of renewable energy technologies, this is also driving an increase in the demand for critical mineral resources that is absolutely stunning, with the demand growing at 5% per year between 2022 and 2024. And we all know that Central Africa region holds vast reserves of key energy transition minerals, including lithium, nickel, cobalt, graphite, and others. So what this mean? This means that actually these trends can open new opportunities, not only in terms of development of the energy system, but also in terms of green industrialization and job creation in a region where we know that employment and demographic pressure is adding pressure on the job market, and where actually informal workers still represent most of the workforce. So I think that we have a strategic opportunity ahead of us in converting this potential into a growth engine, in pairing the renewable build-out through new clean energy technologies with critical minerals value addition and a clean energy workforce. What does it mean? It means that energy transition can become the most credible response, at least to my eyes, that we have for the future of Central Africa economic and employment pressure. And I would be very happy to expand on this a little bit more in the next round. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you so much for those insights. Just a quick reminder to all our attendees that interpretations services are available from English to French. So you just need to go and click on the interpretation button that you have under the Zoom. So the bar under the Zoom, there is a globe icon. So you click there and you select your language to make sure that you're fully following the webinars. And again, thank you, Mr. Milako and Mr. Renzulli, so much. Those are very strong insights, and they're already highlighting both the potential and the complexity, of the transition that we are looking at. So I would like to begin by looking more closely, because the key word from both interpretation, from both insights, were clearly the opportunities that we have. So I would like to begin by, double clicking more closely at the opportunities, particularly in terms of jobs and investment. And Dr. Nembot, let me start with you. From your perspective, which segments of the energy transition offer the greatest potential for job creation in Central Africa?
Thank you very much, Dr. Julienne, for the floor given. Good afternoon to everyone. Thanks also for the opportunity given to contribute to this panel, which is a very important topic concerning our region, the Central Africa region. So what I would like to say is that the energy transition offers enormous opportunity for job creation in Africa in general, especially in the Central Africa region, but this region still faces a major energy access deficit, while also possessing abundant renewable energy resources, as my predecessor have highlighted earlier. So among the different segments, I will highlight 3 areas with particularly strong employment potential: the solar energy, hydropower, and the local renewable energy value chain. Starting with the first one, I would say that the solar energy is probably the largest immediate job creator. Solar systems are labor intensive across the entire chain, from manufacturing and assembly to installation, maintenance, sales, and technical support. We know that, as Mr. Rinzuli earlier mentioned, we are driving towards the utilization of clean energy, especially with the electrical cars. So in many African countries, solar home system and rooftop solar are already creating jobs for young technicians and entrepreneurs. For instance, in countries like Rwanda and Kenya, youth are being trained as solar installer and maintenance technicians, which directly support local employment. Secondly, talking about the hydropower, it also remains a very important energy sector which creates employment in our region, especially the small and medium scale hydro projects. This project can support industrialization while creating engineering, construction, and environmental management jobs. For instance, in Cameroon and Ethiopia, they have invested significant in hydropower infrastructure, generating both direct and indirect employment opportunity. And thirdly, but perhaps the most strategic opportunity lies in developing local value chain. So those are the 3 sectors that I can mention for now. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Nembot, for that. That is very insightful, especially on the issue of sector with high potential that you've clearly categorized. So now let me turn to Mr. Renzulli. So, Mr. Renzulli, how can countries ensure that these investments translate into real benefits locally in terms of jobs, SMEs, and value chain? I mean, from the example of Dr. Nembot, there are quite good countries that she listed, including Rwanda, other countries in Central Africa. So how can those countries make sure that these really translate into real benefit in terms of job?
Thanks, Julian. And let me absolutely join what Dr. Nembot was saying about the job potential in clean energy technologies, and especially on solar, but not only. And I think there are many examples that we can mention, from electric mobility in Rwanda to, again, critical minerals in DRC and so on. But I want to start saying that at UNDP, we really think that just energy transition without local economic capture is not a sustainable transition. And we know that the main challenge that our continent and or the continent where I live and Central Africa region face today is not only, as Melaku was saying, to reduce greenhouse emission, but is to support sustainable, resilient economic and social development. And job creation is an integral part of that agenda. And we do think that clean technologies and green industrialization is actually one of the major sectors that can generate quality jobs at the pace and scale this continent and the Central Africa region need and require. But We also know that this will not happen automatically. Policy are needed. Government ownership is absolutely paramount, and private sector participation is also key. We know that solar panels will not create jobs if they are imported and installed by foreign contractors. We know that minerals will not create wealth if they are exported and processed. So we think that governments should start thinking not only to electricity or minerals are simply commodities, but actually as, from one side, an anchor for green industrialization, and on the other side, when we look at renewable energy, as the key fundamental enabler for transforming economies. Because without electricity, without energy, you cannot fuel industrialization and you will not fuel future prosperity. So you were asking how this can be supported and facilitated somehow, and especially in the framework of local SMEs and local job creation. And I think I would like to mention three levers that, in my view, matter the most. And the first one is to anchor electrification investment to productive uses, from industries to small businesses and agro-processing in the rural area, from schools and health facilities that can improve actually the human capital at national level, to data centers that can fuel the digital revolution that we are all living. And at the same time, work on stimulating local SME formation and creation through tax incentives, economic reforms, and potentially, if needed, also subsidies, in a way that those SMEs can really become the main engine for revenue generation and also electricity demand uptake that is needed to make those investments financially viable. Because if we look at the financial sustainability of electricity access investment, a critical element to actually be able to close the electrification gap, we realize that productive use of energy are key to strengthening project bankability, while at the same time providing livelihood support. As a second element, I like to pinpoint the fact that I think that the energy transition story, especially in Central Africa, must integrate the mineral dimension. Energy investments enable industrialization. Industrialization creates the demand for local processing, and local processing can add additional quality jobs that the Central African countries need and have the potential to create. We know that DRC supplies 60% of the world mined cobalt, but 95% of the processing of that cobalt happens outside of DRC. This is an enormous loss in terms of job creation. And we also know that SMEs, artisanal and small-scale miners, and are actually the main actor of the mineral sector in those countries. And this is a huge opportunity to transform those informal jobs that, through tax collection and other mechanisms, can support broader development. The third point, and I think here I really join what Dr. Nembot was mentioning about capacity training and building the right workforce. I think that vocational training, professional training is absolutely paramount to build the skills and the capacities needed to actually enable those new green sectors to thrive and to collect at local level the potential that can come from that. I think we, as UNDP, we have seen this happening with our own eyes across all the projects that UNDP run in 46 sub-Saharan African countries. Our energy portfolio has become, during the past 4 to 5 years, the past implementation period of our previous strategic plan, one of the organization most impactful vehicles for inclusive growth, resilience, climate mitigation, and livelihood support. We directly impacted the lives of 37 million people, supporting 20.1 million individuals gaining access to clean electricity and 2.3 million gaining access to clean cooking, and while at the same time enabling 40.7 million benefiting from productive uses of energy that actually directly enhanced healthcare, water supply, education, and local economic development. And we are here to double our efforts to actually support these changes across
Thank you.
the Central
Thank,
African region.
thank you. Thank you so much for the insights. And Mr. Melako, let me bring you in here because I think we saw a little bit the link between electricity, energy, industrialization, and then how we could move from industries to small businesses and right at the level of schools to develop the human capital, looking at the vocational trainings and capacity building. Looking also at the link between mineral industrialization, local processing, and thereafter jobs. But maybe to be more practical, are there any successful examples or model, either within or outside the region, that Africa could draw from? Because Mr. Renzulli talked about DRC, exporting 60% of the cobalt of the world, but then the processing is done outside. So can you just speak to us more about any successful example or models, like I said, either within or outside the region that Central Africa could draw from?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of successful examples that can be mentioned as example is I would like to raise three examples. The first one is we can mention the hydropower projects that are really happening in the continent. The first one is the Nachtigal hydropower plant. It's in Cameroon. Actually, it was this project was developed as PPP, public-private partnership modality. It's 40% by the French utility EDF and 30% by the Cameroon government, and then the remaining 13% was covered by the IFC. From this project, I think we can learn something. Why this project is realized, and it was commissioned by end of 2025. Yes, why it's implemented on the ground, this project. We can learn something, I think, from this. What I see is there was a kind of some political government. The government was part of the project. That gives confidence for the private investor to come and invest, PPP shareholder. And there was also the participation of the development finance institutions also in that project. So I think this project can also be replicated for other countries. Other Central African countries can also take something from this and can use the strategy, the approach to implement other solar IPP projects and other hydro projects also. The second example is the Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, which is really totally constructed by the Ethiopians. It was financed by the Ethiopians also. From Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, I think we can learn political commitment also, which was similar to the Nachtigal hydropower plant. But for the case of the Ethiopia, since it was totally 100%, the finance was funded by the Ethiopian people. Yeah. we can see this one from this, there was the public ownership. Totally, the project was owned by the people. That is another something we can learn from this also. Actually, from political commitment point of view, the project was started in 2015 and commissioned in 2024. Yeah. But in the meantime, during the project phase, there was a political change. Yeah. But that political change didn't impact the project. Why the political change didn't impact the project? Because it was a priority project at national level and at individual level also. See, so such kind of, as far as such kind of ownerships exist in every project, it is possible to implement the projects, and maybe Central Africa can also take something from this. The other one is very important example in terms of the procurement of renewable energy projects. We can take something from South Africa government. The South Africa government in 2011 launched the Renewable Energy Independent Power Producer Procurement Program, which was really a very successful program in South Africa in terms of bringing solar power plants and wind power plants into their national grid. Yeah, the procurement process was really transparent, and that transparent procurement process really brought the investors to participate. The procurement process was open. That means the participation from the bidders' point of view, it was very attractive, and it was interesting. Anyways, there was real competition. Such kind of procurement openness, clear and open procurement procedures is very important in terms of bringing the private investors into the sector. And I think the Central Africa region can also learn something from this. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Miracle. So what clearly emerged from what you say is that the opportunity is real. You spoke about the Nachingala hydropower plant, but realizing it, required deliberate choice and coordination. So I am staying with you to find out from your original experience, because the private investment seems to be the model that works, and the model which is also, is not affected by change in government or so. So from your original experience, what are the main barriers that continue to limit private investment in the energy sector?
Okay, yeah, thank you again. I think in terms of the major obstacles or major barriers. Before that, I think let me say some points about the Central African region again. In terms of potential, in terms of hydro, from my literature review, we do have something like 139 gigawatt potential from hydro, which is mainly it is located in DRC, and some part is in Cameroon, in Angola, and then in Congo and Gabon also. Yeah, that is in terms of hydro. In terms of solar, the solar potential is very attractive for Central Africa region. It ranges from 1,300 terawatt hour per meter square per year up to 2,700 terawatt hour per meter square per year. And wind resources also not that much, compared to the other resources. It may not be as such very potential, but still it's attractive. Yeah, specifically solar and hydro potential is very, very enormous. And the other issue is in terms of the demand. When you say in terms of the demand, currently, by the way, we are developing the Central African Power Regional Master Plan. And last year, 2025, in December, we have validated the demand forecast report. So the demand forecast, regional demand forecast, showed that by 2025, it was about 58 terawatt hour. Okay. But the demand forecast, the plan is actually being planned up to 2015. It is expected to increase up to 189 terawatt. The difference is something 130 terawatt hour energy in terms of energy. I'm speaking about energy. We do have the resource. We do have also the market. Yeah, that is the reality for Central Africa region. Now, let me come to the obstacles. In terms of the obstacles, I think we can divide into two: soft infrastructure obstacles and hard infrastructure obstacles. In terms of soft infrastructure obstacles, the presence of appropriate regulatory frameworks is very important for the private investors to come and play. Yeah, the finance access to implement the projects is also very important, and the presence of well-established policy, a policy which will not change with political regime change and other issues, also very important. This is just this in terms of soft infrastructure and presence of appropriate grid code. The presence of how the investor will access the transmission infrastructure. Such kind of soft infrastructures are very important, and I think, to my understanding, this is one of the obstacles. The second one is the hard infrastructure. I was mentioning that the demand will grow from 58 terawatt hour to 189 terawatt hour. Actually, this is the market. But this market is located in a fragmented way. Even within a country, we do have different disconnected grids. For example, for the case of Cameroon, we do have two isolated grids. DRC, if you go, there is East DRC, there is main DRC component. They are not connected, you see. And if you consider Gabon, there are 4 isolated grids. This is within the country. If you consider from regional point of view, right now we do have only one 220 kV kilovolt operational transmission line between Congo and the DRC. We don't have any transmission infrastructure. Even if the market there, the demand is there, you see, it is very difficult for to generate and evacuate the energy to the demand, as far as there is no robust infrastructure, transmission infrastructure at both national level and regional level. So these are the major bottlenecks that are really hindering for the private investors to come and play in the field in Central Africa region. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And that really gives us a very clear picture of the constraint on the ground. So, Dr. Nembot, what can government realistically do to reduce this risk and make the sector more attractive to investors?
Thank you very much for this pertinent question. The government plays a very important role. Government can reduce this perceived risk by creating a stable, predictable, and transparent environment for investors, citizens, and development partners. First of all, I would like to highlight the first point that government can strengthen policy consistency and institutional credibility. Investors are more willing to commit resources when they trust that economic rule will remain stable over time. We know that this has not been the case for most Central African countries. So when everything is stable, investors seems to remain in that country. For example, in Rwanda, the country has built investors' confidence through clear regulation reform, effective public administration, and predictable or credible business procedures. So this will develop, or this would increase the doing business of that country. The second point I would like to highlight is transparency and accountability, which are also very critical. It is recognized that governments that openly communicate fiscal policy, debt management strategy, and public procurement processes reduce uncertainty and build trust. And a good example of a country is Botswana. We all know that the country is very rich in terms of diamonds. So with a strong governance and strong transparency management of diamonds revenue, it has helped the country to sustain and sustain investors' confidence for decades, and which has really contributed to the development of that country. Thirdly, I will cite that government can reduce this risk by reducing infrastructure and operational risk through public investment and partnership. It is also found in studies and that reliable electricity, transport network, and digital infrastructure lowers the risk or lower the cost of doing business. An example here is Morocco, which have developed a renewable energy infrastructure, and this has attracted major automotive and infrastructure investment in that country. Another one I will talk about political and legal stability. And we all know that in the Central Africa region, it has not been political and legal stability. So studies also show that independent courts and efficient dispute resolution mechanism also rehearse or improve both the domestic and foreign investor. So by looking into this, it will be very important for Central Africa government to treat this instability, and this will improve the investment environment. And then another one very also important is that government should invest in human capital and social stability. So perceived risk is not only economic, it is not only political or social. Investment in education, healthcare, youth employment, and inclusive governance reduce the likelihood of instability and strengthen long-term resilience. So by taking in charge these different points, the government can really improve the investment environment and create more stable jobs in these countries. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Nembot, for those very practical points. And I'm going to turn to Mr. Renzulli just to, to close in 2 minutes. We spoke at length about the role of government. So just in 1 sentence, is there something key that development finance institution can play, in kind of unlocking this investment in this space, like just one key role that you think development finance institution can play?
Thanks, Julian. And I'm absolutely aligned with everything was said by colleagues, both in terms of the opportunities, but also in terms of the risks that actually investors face, and what is the impact of those risks is actually an increase in capital cost for clean energy technologies, which result then in a lower affordability of the electricity generated, if we speak about renewable, from those projects. And what is the role of development finance institutions, but also development partners as the United Nations system and UNDP? We are not a development finance institution, we are a development partner, is actually to work with governments and project developers to decrease those costs and capital costs, especially through the risking of projects. Because good project preparation coupled with access to fit-for-purpose financial de-risking mechanism can actually make clean energy projects viable and affordable for all. We see that in most of 90% of energy markets worldwide, renewables are today more competitive with than their fossil fuel alternative. But in Africa, this is often not the case. Why? Because actually clean energy projects in Africa most often face financing costs that are 2 to 3 times higher than the one in advanced economies. And if we can de-risk those projects to bring back the cost of capital to the same level of the one that we have in most advanced renewable energy markets, the data show that we could decrease the average cost of these projects between 15 and 25%. So my answer, Julian, to your question is the risk, the risk, the risk. Development finance institutions have the ability to give financial de-risking products, guarantees, concessional loans that can then be used to bring private capital, and development partners can support government in preparing bankable project pipeline on the upstream side.
That is, yeah, I think that is clear. Maybe just to still stay on you, like, okay, one policy reform that should be prioritized. If you're asked to prioritize one policy or regulatory reform to attract investment into the energy sector, what is it in one word which you're going to prioritize?
I think that more than one policy reform, I would rather use 3 broad areas of market, of an enabling environment for investments, right? We worked on several analyses of policy regulatory frameworks for energy investments across several markets. And we realized that there are 3 main areas that can structure an enabling environment for private investments. And this is working on market openness, which is most of the time ensuring regulatory predictability of rules for accessing the market.
That's the first one.
This is the first one. The second one is market attractiveness. There are incentives and reforms that can be adopted to actually reduce the cost of capital. And the third is market readiness. And this is I'm going back to what Melaku was saying about expanding regional interconnection, working on the development of power system, working on the balancing of those power system, because there is a lot of improvement that can be done only by increasing the performance of electricity systems across many countries in Africa that have a level of losses that are above 30%. It means that 30% of the energy injected is actually wasted, while we have tens of millions of people that still lack electricity. All that electricity can actually flow to the final user if we invest on the systems.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Renzulé. I think we have a couple of questions that I would like us to take from panelists. So there is one question on the chat from Dr. Bat Salah on job creation. So job creation needs to be assessed from a long-term goal standpoint. Job sustainability must be part of a national strategy exercised by government. So what are your thoughts when it comes to that perspective about job creation needs? The question is not directed particularly to a panelist, but I'll invite Mr. Melaku to give any thoughts about that. Just in 1 minute, because we have a couple of other questions.
Yeah, I think as far as we are integrating the region, job creation will come. Okay? As far as the integration of as far as we are integrating the region, you see, we will have the reliable electricity. Yeah, there is reliable electricity means industrialization will come with the presence of reliable electricity, because the cost will also fall down as the integration increases, something, while we are also trying to integrate the region, we are also creating job. Yeah. Even if our main agenda may not be like job creation specifically, but jobs will be created while we are trying to integrate the region. That is the first thing. The other issue is the industrialization will follow. That will also bring jobs for permanent and temporary jobs will also be created. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I think there was a hand up, but I don't see the hand up again from Noel Nze. I don't know if you still have a question you would like to ask to the panelists. Yes, please go ahead, Noel Nze. You can open your mic and ask your question.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Julien, and thank you to all the speakers. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear.
All right. I am Zanuel Lifoga, and I am connecting from Bamenda. I am the Executive Director of Community Action for Advancing Sustainable Development. And our work has been around addressing the challenges of energy poverty and youth unemployment in conflict-affected communities in the Northwest and Southwest regions of Cameroon by empowering youth with green skills in solar technology, that is solar systems design, installation, and maintenance. And for the past 4 years, we've been able to empower hundreds of young people with solar technology skills. This is a model that has been proven very successful in taking young people from crisis and transitioning them into a workforce that can power energy transition in Cameroon and beyond. So my question around this discussion is how can we shift from exporting raw materials into having productive value chains? Because when we are able to transform our raw materials into forms that are in the final stage, that is where we are able to create jobs for young people in Africa. So if Africa must industrialize, we need to start to think about industrialization. Do we have any successful models around Africa where maybe they are promoting solar panel production and so on, components of renewable energy that we are all looking at? If our panelists could share that, it will be of good help. Because we have been training young people, we are looking at how we can start to build solar generators from scratch in Cameroon, which we try to come out with a model and with a prototype already, and we got some awards, and we are looking for partners where we can collaborate with in this area. We have also received support from the Islamic Development Bank Youth Green Skill Accelerator Award at COP28, and also the Youth for Climate Award in this area. And we are currently looking for people that we can scale this, but we need productive use of raw materials.
We are going to give the opportunity to Alexandria to ask her question, and then I will pass over the floor to the panelists to attempt to answer both questions. So, Alexandria, please open your mic and go ahead and ask your question to the panelists.
Yes, I was wondering. So I'm Alexandra Haidara. I'm based in the Washington, D.C. area, and I'm a consultant helping U.S. companies expand to African markets. And I'm just kind of curious to know what are the opportunities you're seeing in the mining sector as it relates to strategic communications and partnership development, and also helping companies not only be able to invest in the Congo and help with the build up the mining sector, but invest in a way that meets development needs, because oftentimes, as you said, the mining sector doesn't always translate, the money that's flowing in that sector doesn't always help the communities surrounding those mines. So just kind of want to know what the market is looking like for someone like me who wants to break into the field.
Thank you so much. Dr. Nembo, do you want to take the question from Joseph, and then Andrea will take the question from Alexandria? and then we will have to wrap up because of time. We are mindful of your time and your calendar. So please go ahead.
Thank you very much. How can we shift from raw material? Yeah, it's true most of our countries rely on raw material. We export raw material. The industrial sector is not really developed to change, to shift from this raw material to manufactured product. So how can we do that? First of all, I will just highlight some important points that I have now. I'll first of all say that the human resource, the human capital should be developed. In our area, the education does not directly target what we have on the market. So training institution must work closely with industry and employers. So we know that graduates struggle to find jobs because the curriculum does not is outdated or too theoretical. So if people are really trained with skill that will help them to use the transformation of this raw material, we can ship therefore from raw to manufactured products. And then the second part I will put is the government ensuring that there is the production segment of this country is developed. So this would be to create an enable environment that will propel the business and will attract more investors that will come and install their industry in the country. Therefore, we can have a transformation of the industrial sector, which will help to transform those raw materials. So those are the two main points that I could put to transform or to shape this raw material production.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Nembot. Andrea, the last question from Alexandria, and we're going to wrap up after that. So in 1 or 2 minutes, because we know that the discussion is definitely going to, continue after the webinar.
Thanks a lot. And on the question, I think it would be difficult to answer in 2 minutes because opportunities in the mineral and the extractive in general are very country dependent, depending on the endowment that each country has and the market opportunities that are linked to the development of the value chain of those particular minerals. But I would just wanted to actually flag an interesting work from another UN agency, UNCTAD, and they are looking at economic diversification opportunities in few mineral-rich countries. I think Zambia, Namibia, and Madagascar, if I'm not mistaken. We work with UNCTAD under a new initiative from the Secretary General, which is the Joint UN Task Force on Critical Energy Transition Mineral. And the purpose of this new task force, that again is a joint UN system initiative, is actually to work with interested governments in finding pathways to actually use their critical mineral potential to support the sustainable development of the country. And these include, of course, value chain diversification. These include moving from raw export to local processing, but it also moved to actually some production of products or intermediate products at local level. But of course, this will depend on the growth of national markets, the growth of regional demand for those products, and the ability, I think, also of African governments in build alliances in how they could work together to actually move on the value chain path of those resources. So just to flag, I think that UNCTAD work will provide useful information on the diversification opportunities.
Thank you so much. And like I said, definitely this is a discussion that we're going to pursue outside of this webinar. Thank you very much to all our panelists for the very rich and thought-provoking discussions. Thank you very much to all the participants for the contributions. I would like to briefly highlight a few takeaways. We spoke about the energy transition that presents a clear opportunity for growth and job creation in Central Africa. However, significant challenges in terms of financing, regulation, and coordination. It's true that there were, some areas that were put forward as success stories, and moving forward will require strong policy framework, investment alignment, and skill development, especially human capital development part of it. So today's discussion really shows that energy transition is not just an environmental issue, it is a central economic and policy issue for the region. On behalf of the Nkafu Policy Institute, I would like to sincerely thank all our panelists and all the participants for joining us today. We look forward to continuing this discussion on email and through other means. And thank you again to everyone, and have a wonderful rest of your afternoon.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.